The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the subsonic vibrations of 1,000 different species' life support systems. Sarah Chen, captain of the UES Persistence and Humanities military representative, tried not to fidget in her environmental suit. The damn thing chafed. The council recognizes the Terran delegation. Ambassador Zixatheta's mandibles clicked with what Sarah had learned was condescension. The Rillan stood 9 feet tall on four-segmented legs, compound eyes reflecting the chamber's bioluminescent panels like scattered diamonds. Beautiful, terrifying, and currently looking at humanity's delegation like they'd tracked something unpleasant onto the pristine, crystalline floor. Thank you, honored ambassador. Director Marcus Webb stepped forward, his voice steady despite the sweat Sarah could see beading on his dark skin. The chamber's atmosphere was kept at a compromised temperature that satisfied exactly no one. Humanity is grateful for this opportunity to address. Yes, yes! Zixatheta's wings buzzed impatiently. The Council has reviewed your species' application for trade route access through the Spinward territories. We must express our concerns. Sarah's jaw clenched. Here it comes. Your species evolved on a class-worried deathworld, Counselor Yorth interjected, his gelatinous form rippling with distaste. The Mulvane's translucent body showed the intricate dance of his internal organs, fascinating and nauseating in equal measure. Unprecedented, the gravity alone should have crushed any hope of developing intelligence. Yet here you are, walking, talking, requesting trade rights as if you weren't biological impossibilities. Laughter. That's what the harmonic resonance from the Celestine delegation was. Pure, crystalline laughter that made Sarah's teeth ache. What Counselor Yorth means, Zixtheta continued, is that we have safety concerns. Your species' history shows a disturbing propensity for violence. You've had 7 global conflicts in the past rotation of your star alone. Those were resolved through diplomacy, Webb started, after millions died. The Ashanti representatives' bioluminescent patches flared orange. You hunt for sport. You poison yourselves with ethanol for recreation. You jump from heights for amusement. The liability concerns alone. The chamber erupted, a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and subsonic pulses that the translation matrix struggled to parse. Sarah caught fragments. Uninsurable risks. Contamination protocols. Deathworld madness. Her hands found the familiar weight of her grandmother's prayer beads in her pocket. Breathe, Chen. Don't give them the satisfaction. Webb raised his hand, waiting for the chaos to subside. When it finally did, his smile was tired but genuine. We understand your concerns. Earth is challenging, but that challenge made us adaptable, creative, resilient. We're not asking for charity, we're offering partnership. Partnership? Zixtheta's antenna twitched with amusement. What could a species that's barely achieved FTL travel offer the Galactic Council? Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your ships are held together with, what was the phrase, duct tape and prayer? More laughter. Sarah's fingernails bit into her palms. Perhaps, Webb conceded, but we've survived. On a world where the rain is acid, where tectonic plates shift like living things, where diseases evolve faster than most species can adapt. We've survived and we've thrived. That has to count for something. The council exchanged glances, or what passed for glances among beings with wildly different sensory organs. We will consider your application, Zixtheta said finally. You will be granted provisional observer status, no voting rights, limited trade access, and for the love of the void, keep your adventure tourists away from civilized space. The last thing we need is humans base jumping off the crystal spires of Altair. Sarah bit back her response. Actually, that sounded incredible. 3 months later, the universe ended. Not all at once. Not with the grand supernova the poets always promised. It started with whispers in the void, trading posts going silent, frontier colonies vanishing between status reports. The kind of thing that made bureaucrats frown and file reports in triplicate. Then the refugees started arriving. Sarah stood on the observation deck of Waystation Prime, watching the evacuation ships limp in, The Celestine crystal craft leaked light like dying stars. A Molvan bioship oozed something that might have been fear pheromones or engine fluid. Hard to tell. 60 billion. Webb's voice was hollow. He'd aged years in the past week. The Ashanti homeworld, 60 billion souls, and the survivors fit in 12 ships. What did this? Sarah couldn't look away from the devastation. They're calling them the Devourers, ancient AI swarm, older than any civilization in the Council. Someone, we don't know who, activated a derelict beacon in the Magellan sector. Woke them up. Sarah's blood chilled. AI? But the conventions predate the conventions by millions of years. They don't communicate, don't negotiate. They just consume, break down matter at the molecular level to make more of themselves. Exponential growth. The tactical projections. He didn't finish. Didn't need to. The Council's response. Webb laughed bitterly. The mighty Galactic Council is doing what it does best, debating. The Rillan want to evacuate core worlds and abandon the frontier. The Molvan propose quarantine zones. The Celestine are building monument ships to preserve their culture for whoever comes after. They're giving up. The realization hit Sarah like gravity. They're all giving up. What else can they do? Their weapons are based on energy manipulation, gravitic fields, exotic particles, elegant, civilized, useless against machines that learn and adapt in nanoseconds. The Ashanti fleet lasted 17 minutes, the most advanced military in the galaxy, and they lasted 17 minutes. Sarah's hand found her prayer beads again. Her grandmother had survived the water wars, the collapse, the long winter. Humans are too stubborn to die, Mija, she'd always said. It's our gift and our curse. Show me everything, Sarah said. Every scan, every tactical report, every second of footage from the Ashanti's last stand. Webb frowned. Why? What are you thinking? I'm thinking, Sarah said slowly, that the Council made a mistake. They evolved in paradise worlds, developed technology in peace, wage war like it's a philosophical debate. But humans? We evolved getting chased by predators. We invented warfare before we invented agriculture. We're not civilized. We're survivors. Sarah, we have 7 combat-ready ships. 7. The Ashanti had thousands. The Ashanti fought like civilized beings. Sarah's smile was sharp as flint. Time to show the galaxy how deathworlders play. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Representatives who hadn't shared the same space in centuries crowded the chamber, their life support fields crackling with interference. Fall back to the core worlds. Scorched space policy. Preserve what we can. The Terran delegation requests the floor. Webb's voice cut through the pandemonium. Silence fell like a hammer. Zixtheta's compound eyes fixed on the human delegation with something between pity and annoyance. Observer species have no speaking rights during emergency sessions. Then we request special dispensation, Sarah stepped forward, to present a military option. The laughter that erupted would have been insulting if it wasn't so tinged with hysteria. A military option? Counselor Yor's form rippled. From humans? Your entire fleet could fit in one of our carrier bays. With respect, Counselor, Sarah's voice carried the same tone she'd used facing down water raiders in the Australian wastes. When was the last time any of you fought a real war? Not a territorial dispute, not a trade negotiation with plasma cannons. A war of extinction? The chamber fell silent. Earth's history is written in blood and ash, she continued. We fought with sticks and stones, with chemical weapons that burned our own lungs, with atomics that poisoned our soil for generations. We fought in trenches full of corpses, in jungles that ate entire armies, in cities reduced to rubble. We've fought against plagues that killed thirds of our population, against our own planet trying to freeze us out or burn us alive, and we're still here. Inspiring, Zixtheta's tone dripped acid, but the Devourers aren't impressed by speeches. They're a post-singular machine intelligence. They adapt to any weapon in nanoseconds They, they're hunters, Sarah interrupted. Perfect, patient, logical hunters, and you're all acting like prey. The insult rippled through the chamber, but Sarah pressed on. You fight with physics, bend space, manipulate energy, alter probability. Beautiful, elegant, predictable. The Devourers have had millions of years to catalog every possible permutation of your weapons. But humans, she grinned, and several delegates stepped back. We fight dirty. What are you proposing? The question came from Ambassador Velix of the neutral zone, their crystalline form chiming with curiosity. Sarah nodded to Webb, who activated a holoprojector. The chamber filled with human military history, not the sanitized versions shown to the council, but the raw footage. Guerrilla warfare, scorched earth, Trojan horses, kamikaze pilots, soldiers fighting with broken bones, missing limbs, continuing long after any sane species would surrender. Dear Void, someone whispered. The Devourers are machines, Sarah continued. They think in straight lines, optimal paths, maximum efficiency. They've never faced an enemy that does this. She gestured to a projection of human soldiers in World War I, charging through poison gas. An enemy too stupid to know when it's beaten, too stubborn to die properly, too spiteful to surrender even when surrender is the only logical option. You're insane. Your statement wasn't an insult. It sounded like a revelation. By your standards? Absolutely. Sarah's smile widened. But we're also the only species in this room evolved to handle insanity. Your paradise worlds gave you philosophy and art and faster-than-light travel. Our death world gave us paranoia, pattern recognition, and the ability to function on no sleep, minimal food, and pure adrenaline for days at a time. Even if we were desperate enough to consider this, Zix Theta's wings buzzed nervously. You have 7 ships. 7. 7 human ships, Sarah corrected, held together with duct tape and prayer, remember? Ships maintained by engineers who learned to repair FTL drives with whatever was on hand because the nearest spare parts were light years away. Piloted by humans who think barrel rolls in atmosphere are fun, crewed by people who volunteered to leave the only habitable planet they'd ever known to explore a universe that actively wants to kill them. She paused, meeting as many alien gazes as her human eyes could process. Give us your technical data on the Devourers, all of it. Give us access to your shipyards, not to build new ships, but to modify ours. And give us the one thing your civilized warfare never uses, complete autonomy to fight as we see fit. The council erupted again, but this time the tone was different. Desperate, considering. You're asking us to trust the fate of the galaxy to deathworld barbarians, Zix Theta said finally. No, Sarah's voice was soft now, almost gentle. I'm asking you to trust the fate of the galaxy to the only species that's made an art form out of surviving the unsurvivable. The only species too stubborn to know when we're beat. And if you fail, Sarah shrugged, then we die doing what humans do best, spitting in death's eye and daring it to blink first. But honestly, death should know better by now. We've been beating that bastard since we climbed down from the trees. The human fleet, if 7 patched-together vessels could be called a fleet, hung in the void at the edge of Devourer space. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Persistence, her crew at their stations. The modifications had taken 3 weeks of round-the-clock work. Rillan shield generators jury-rigged to human power systems. Mulvan bioprocessors grafted onto navigation computers. Celestine communication crystals duct-taped, literally duct-taped, to sensor arrays. You know what the worst part is? Lieutenant Commander Park said from the tactical station. The council members who came to observe the modifications. You should have seen their faces when Martinez used a hammer on the quantum stabilizer. Did it work? Sarah asked. Haven't blown up yet. Then they can keep their opinions to themselves. The joke fell flat. Everyone knew what they were flying into. The Devourers' swarm had consumed 3 more systems while they prepared. Billions more dead. The council's evacuation plans were falling apart. Turned out most species didn't handle existential terror well. Who knew? Contact, Webb reported from the science station. Devourer outriders bearing 2 7 Mark IV. They'll be on us in 6 minutes. All ships, this is persistence. Sarah opened the fleet channel. Remember the plan. We're not here to win a stand-up fight. We're here to be the most annoying thing these machines have ever encountered. Hit and run. Scorched earth. Make them chase us. Make them mad. Can machines get mad? This from Captain Iwamoto on the Defiance? We're about to find out. All ships, execute Operation Labyrinth. Let's show these bastards how humans play tag. The first phase was almost anticlimactic. The Devourer outriders, sleek, efficient killing machines that had torn through the Ashanti fleet, approached in perfect formation. Textbook tactics, optimal firing solutions. The human ships scattered like startled birds. Not retreating, that would have made sense. Instead, they flew in seemingly random directions, leaving trails of garbage, debris. The Devourers' sensors struggled to process why prey would jettison valuable resources. Then the debris exploded, not with the elegant antimatter annihilation of Council weapons. These were human explosives, chemical reactions so primitive that Devourers hadn't bothered developing countermeasures. Crude, inefficient, and surprisingly effective when you packed enough of them with metallic chaff, biological waste, and stolen Mulvan fear pheromones. The Devourer formation faltered. Not damaged. Their shields adapted quickly, but confused. Their million-year-old algorithms trying to process why any species would waste resources, creating sensory chaos. Phase 2, Sarah barked. The stubborn bastard, and yes, they'd officially registered that name with the Council, dove straight at the reforming Devourer line. Its pilot, Maria Santos, had won Earth's orbital racing championship 3 years running by flying routes that made physics professors weep. She wasn't trying to win now. She was trying to annoy. The ship pulled maneuvers that should have torn it apart, would have torn apart any sensibly designed vessel. But human ships were built by people who'd learned engineering fixing machines, held together by hope and swearing. The stubborn bastard corkscrewed between Devourer units, its modified weapons firing in patterns that made no tactical sense. Ionized gelatin rounds, the same crowd control weapons used in Earth's riots. Crystallized capsaicin bombs that did nothing but create sensor ghosts. Electromagnetic chaff mixed with human music. 4 different genres playing at volumes that violated 17 civilized warfare conventions. The Devourers adapted, of course. Within minutes, they'd calibrated their sensors to filter out the noise. Their weapons tracked the human ship with mechanical precision, which is when Santos ejected. Not in an escape pod. Those were for people who planned to survive. She ejected in a modified maintenance suit strapped with mining charges, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Witness me, you metal fucks!" The explosion took out 2 Devourers and left the rest calculating why any intelligent being would self-terminate for such minimal tactical gain. "She actually did it," Park whispered. "The absolute madwoman actually did it." "They all volunteered." Sarah's voice was steady despite the tears on her cheeks. "Every berserker. They knew." The battle, if it could be called that, continued for hours. Human ships appearing and disappearing, leaving chaos in their wake. The Relentless pursued Devourers into an asteroid field rigged with nuclear mines so old they barely had radiation warnings. The Hope Springs Eternal played recordings of human children singing while dropping corrosive bio-waste that did nothing but force the machines to waste processing power, analyzing its purpose. And through it all, the Devourers learned, adapted, started predicting the chaos. "Ma'am," Webb's voice was grim, "we're down to 4 ships. The swarm's main force is moving to intercept. We've annoyed them as much as we can." Sarah nodded. This had always been a delaying action, a finger in the dam. But every minute they bought was another transport full of refugees reaching safety. "All ships prepare for final run. It's been an honor serving with—" "Captain!" Park's shout cut her off. "I'm reading. That can't be right. Report. The Devourers, they're retreating?" Sarah's blood froze. "That's impossible. They don't retreat. They consume or they're destroyed. Tell that to them. The entire swarm is pulling back to—" "Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit." Lieutenant, they're not retreating. Park's face was pale. They're consolidating. Every unit in the swarm is linking up. They're going to... The view screen exploded with light. Where 1,000 individual Devourer units had been, a single massive construct now hung in space. A sphere of living metal the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons humanity couldn't begin to understand. Well, someone said over comms, we wanted to make them mad. The sphere spoke. Not in words, the Devourers had never bothered with communication. It spoke in pure mathematics, broadcast directly into every conscious mind in light years. Inefficiency detected. Adaptation complete. Initiating total conversion protocol. They're going to sterilize the entire sector, Webb breathed. Not just us, everything. Every planet, every asteroid, every mote of dust that might carry human contamination. Sarah stared at the impossible weapon they'd provoked. The Council had been right. Humans were too dangerous for civilized space. Their chaos, their spite, their refusal to die properly, it had pushed the perfect killing machines to evolve beyond killing. Ma'am? Park's voice was small. Orders? Sarah closed her eyes, thought of her grandmother, of Earth, stubborn and poisonous and beautiful, of every human who'd ever looked at impossible odds and said, fuck it, let's try anyway. Open a channel, all frequencies. Channel open. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Persistence to the Devourer construct. You want to sterilize human contamination? Fine. But answer one question first. She gripped her grandmother's prayer beads. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an object too stupid to move? Silence. You've analyzed our tactics, adapted to our chaos, evolved past our tricks. Congratulations. You're now the perfect anti-human weapon. Her smile was sharp as vacuum. But here's the thing about humans. We've been making perfect weapons obsolete since we figured out that rocks beat claws. You know what beats the perfect weapon? She nodded to Webb. He entered a command. An imperfect one. The Persistence's modified engines screamed to life. Not the elegant manipulation of space-time the Council favored. This was pure human insanity. A fusion torch pushed past every safety margin, matter-antimatter containment fields held together by manual override and bloody-minded determination. All ships, Sarah roared. Remember Earth. Remember Santos. Ramming speed. 4 human ships, held together by duct tape and prayer, accelerated toward a moon-sized war machine. David versus Goliath. If David was drunk on adrenaline and Goliath was made of living metal. The Devourer sphere's weapons came online. Beams of pure dissolution that had erased civilizations. Gravitational pulses that could shred matter at the quantum level. 1,000 different flavors of death, all focused on 4 tiny ships that had no business existing. The Hope Springs Eternal died first, its hull dissolving like sugar in rain. But momentum was a harsh mistress, and its wreckage continued forward, a cloud of atoms that had once been human dreams. The Relentless lasted 12 seconds longer, its pilot singing Earth's ancient battle hymns as reality twisted around him. The Defiance, it lived up to its name. When its engines failed, its crew detonated their life support reserves. When their weapons melted, they fired escape pods like bullets. When the pods were gone, they broadcast porn at the Devourer construct because why the hell not? And the Persistence persisted. Hull breach on all decks, Park screamed over alarms. Structural integrity at 7%. 6! 5 exclamation mark. Hold together, baby, Sarah whispered to her ship. Just a little longer. Show them what humans are made of. The Devourer sphere filled the view screen. Weapons that could crack planets focused on one tiny ship, held together by willpower and spite. The perfect killing machine versus humanity's refusal to die. Impact in 10 seconds, Webb called out. 9! 8 exclamation mark. Hey, Ambassador Zix Theta. Sarah opened a broad channel to the watching council. Still think we're too primitive for your enlightened society? 7, 6, 5 exclamation mark. Here's your answer. Humans aren't sophisticated. We're not elegant. We're not even particularly smart. 4, 3 exclamation mark. But we're really. 2, really. 1, hard to kill. The explosion, when it came, was visible from 3 systems away. Not because the Persistence's reactor went critical, though it did. Not because their cobbled-together weapons detonated, though they certainly tried. It was visible because the Devourer construct screamed. Machines that had existed for millions of years, that had evolved past the need for communication, screamed in frequencies that made reality hiccup. The perfect sphere cracked. Living metal that could adapt to any weapon encountered something it couldn't process. A species that turned suicide into a tactical option. But it wasn't the impact that killed it, not directly. In those final nanoseconds, as human atoms mixed with Devourer protocols, something impossible happened. The chaotic, pattern-seeking, stupidly creative human minds infected the construct's perfect logic chains. For one glorious moment, the most advanced AI in the galaxy experienced what humans called intrusive thoughts. What if we tried jumping off that cliff? What if we ate that obviously poisonous fruit? What if we poked the bear? What if? The construct's last transmission before it tore itself apart trying to process pure human chaos was a simple question broadcast to the cosmos. Why? The memorial service was held in the same council chamber where humanity had been mocked months before. No one laughed now. Ambassador Zixtheta's wings drooped as she spoke. We were wrong. We saw your violence, your chaos, your refusal to accept reality's constraints, and we saw weakness, primitivity. We didn't see humanity, Director Webb supplied quietly. He'd aged decades and days, but his eyes still held that spark that made humans human. Yes, the Rillan's compound eyes focused on the small human delegation. You saved us, all of us, at a cost we would never have paid. Humans are weird like that, Webb managed a tired smile. We'll die for strangers, fight for people who hate us, sacrifice everything for the chance, just the chance that someone else gets to see tomorrow. The council has voted, Councillor Yorth spoke up, his form rippling with what might have been respect. Unanimously, Earth will be granted full membership with all rights and privileges, trade routes, technology exchanges, colonial rights. No, the chamber fell silent. No! Zixtheta's antenna twitched with confusion. Webb stood slowly, formally. Earth thanks the Council for his generous offer, but we must decline. You're rejecting Council membership? Felix's crystalline form chimed with discord. After everything, after the sacrifice of your people? Not rejecting, Webb clarified, modifying. Earth will accept associate membership. We'll trade. We'll share knowledge. We'll even fight your wars when needed. But we won't become you. He gestured to the chamber's perfect harmonics, its carefully controlled environment. You evolved in paradise. You developed civilization as an art form, and that's beautiful, worth preserving, worth protecting. His voice hardened. But someone needs to stay uncivilized. Someone needs to remember how to fight dirty, think sideways, and spit in Death's eye. Because the universe isn't paradise. It's full of things like the Devours. And when the next threat comes, and it will come, you'll need your deathworld barbarians. You would separate yourselves from us? Yours sounded genuinely hurt. After we've seen what you truly are? We're not separating, Webb smiled sadly. We're being what we've always been, humanity's guard dogs, the wolves you keep at the edge of the fire, close enough to call when the darkness gets too thick, far enough away that you can pretend we're tame. That's not what we want, Zixtheta protested. You're heroes. We deserve to be human, Webb cut her off gently. Chaotic, violent, stupid, glorious. We deserve to keep making our mistakes, fighting our wars, and occasionally saving the galaxy because we're too stubborn to know it's impossible. He turned to leave, then paused. But thank you for the offer, for finally seeing us. And he grinned, and it was sharp and sad and utterly human. For reminding us that being the galaxy's deathworld species isn't a bug, it's a feature. As the human delegation filed out, Zixtheta called after them. What will you do now? Webb didn't turn around. Same thing we've always done. Survive, thrive, and wait for the next time the universe needs someone crazy enough to punch it in the face. And if that time doesn't come, now he did turn, and his smile was his species' entire evolutionary history, condensed into one expression. Oh, Ambassador, when has the universe ever been that kind? 6 months later, a small human colony ship drifted through the ruins of the battle. The Persistence Memorial Station, they'd call it eventually. But for now, it was just another human touching the void because they could. The pilot, a young woman named Chen, no relation to the captain, just one of those cosmic coincidences, stared at the twisted metal that had once been devourer and human alike. Her hand went to the prayer beads at her neck. Her grandmother's now. You seeing this, Control? She radioed back. We see it, Wildflower. Readings? Background radiation still hot. Lots of exotic particles. The eggheads are gonna love this. She paused, caught by a glint of light. Wait, I've got something. Define something, Wildflower. Chen maneuvered closer. There, caught in the gravitational eddy of a shattered moon, a piece of hull plating. Human design. And etched into it, probably with a fusion cutter in those final moments, words that made her laugh and cry at the same time. Control, someone graffitied their ship before ramming a moon-sized death machine. Of course they did. What's it say? Chen read the words aloud, her voice carrying across the void to Earth, to the Council worlds, to every corner of a galaxy, learning what it meant to share space with humanity. Humans, making death take the long way. Since 200,000 BCE, your move, universe. Copy that, Wildflower. Want to head home? Chen looked out at the vast darkness, full of wonders and terrors. Thought of her species, too stubborn to die, too curious to stay safe, too human to be anything else. Negative, Control. I'm gonna poke around some more, you know. Yeah, Control laughed. We know. Human gonna human. Human gonna human, Chen agreed, piloting her tiny ship deeper into the unknown. Because that's what humans did. They looked at the impossible, the terrifying, the things that should kill them, and they poked it with a stick, just to see what would happen.